What is up, NFL fans? Welcome back to another episode of The Way We See It. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Wesley Coleman. Wesley, what's going on?
Hey man, we celebrating the college baseball national championship. Not sure if you were watching a lot of that. I know you love college sports.
I don't. No one wants to talk golf with me. What is wrong? Like, everyone's like, did you talk about the NBA Finals? No. How about hockey? No. Talk about golf, the Travelers Championship, Captain Keegan. But anyways, we're not going to go there. We want to talk about some manufactured headlines in the NFL, and that is, I want to find it. This is all going to make sense. And Wesley and I text each other regularly. He sent me a screenshot of something, and this will all make sense. But my question for you is, when do you pull the plug on a player? And this is not a rookie. We've talked a lot about how, like, what is the leash for a rookie in terms of expectations and stuff like that. But then I've tied this again with another piece of content I did at steelcurtainnetwork.com this past Sunday. I wrote an article about remembering Antonio Brown before he went to AB. And he was really, really good. And then eventually he got to the point where the Steelers said, we can't tolerate this anymore. Like, we got to get rid of him. And it was a third and a fifth round pick that went to the Raiders. But still, do you have even mentally like a line, whether it's performance based, whether it's behavioral, that you're thinking, I can't, there's no way. You gotta cut ties with this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's multiple ways you can look at this. So, I mean, obviously there's injuries, there's distraction to the team, whether that's on the field or social media, which has become definitely a thing. And then you've got didn't live up to expectations, not playing up to the contract. There's all kinds of different ways that you can look at this, and drug arrests, potential suspension, all those kind of things. But if your team is in win now mode and the player is potentially going to help you with those wins when it comes to the playoffs, teams don't really give up on those guys.
Right.
I mean, it is a win, show me what you're doing on the field, earn some money league. And there's been some outrageous, especially now every year. I mean, AB didn't have social media back then. Like, I know you're following him. You see him now. I send you some stuff, some crazy things that he posts.
Yeah.
I mean, if he would have had X and Twitter back when he was actually playing.
He did.
Yeah, but he didn't use them like. But I'm saying if he used them the way he did now.
Don't you remember the Facebook Live video after beating the Chiefs with no touchdowns and only Chris Boswell field goals? He's going live as Mike Tomlin is addressing the team, and he was paid by Facebook to do a Facebook Live because that was just starting to become a thing. You remember that, right? I mean,
yes.
He was a little cuckoo before he went out of the cuckoo's nest, but the distraction part is huge. So let's talk about that first. So Mike Tomlin has always given a lot of kudos for his handling of players like Le'Veon Bell, Martavis Bryant to an extent, Antonio Brown for sure. And let's also not forget.
Pickens.
What'd you say?
George Pickens.
Oh, yeah, but let's also not forget Ben Roethlisberger, who had his own baggage earlier in his career. Okay.
We've never talked about that, by the way. Like, I make comments about everything. I've left alone the Big Ben stuff forever.
We can talk about it. Hey, everyone that says like he's a creep, yeah, that's a creepy behavior. That's creepy crap happened down in Milledgeville, Georgia. He looked like a creep at the time. The reports were creepy. It settled out of court, like all this stuff. Like, I mean, come on. Like, let's read the tea leaves. You want to talk about that? We'll talk about that. But still, the distractions eventually got to the point where it's like, okay, we can't tolerate this anymore. And I guess my question is, has Mike Tomlin, if we're using the Steelers as an example, and Antonio Brown being the creme de la creme of nut jobs, it maybe be a distraction. Has Mike Tomlin's leash gotten shorter? That George
just
Pickens
signed Aaron Rodgers. He just signed Aaron Rodgers.
This is true. But he shipped George Pickens out, and George Pickens didn't do anything close to Antonio Brown, and he was talented. Just saying.
No, well, I saw something the other day saying that they believe that the trade from George Pickens happened because Aaron Rodgers finally said, I'm gonna come sign there. And so it was like, well, we can't have this both going on at the same time. I did see something like really speculating, and that was from the Cowboys side, saying
Okay.
think that that's where it happened. I'll just say this. So it's definitely not to the Antonio Brown level, but Michael Thomas of the Saints in 2019 had one of the greatest seasons in football history for a wide receiver. He won Offensive Player of the Year, 149 catches, 1,725 yards. And then, yes, he dealt with injuries after that. But even with those injuries, when he was healthy, he looked like a valid wide receiver. And like, he's not even somebody that can get a tryout or an incentive-laden contract these last 2 years. Like, he looked like the perfect person a couple years ago for the Chiefs to bring on when they just, they had a wide receiver crew of nobody. And he can, and it was all social media based. And for me, what's the craziest thing about him, when he came into the league, his entire thing, that just about every Twitter post he made for 2.5 years was shh. He put his thing was he'd score and he'd put his finger to his lips, like, and then he stopped taking his own advice and was just a complete distraction. And I mean, posting the weirdest like lyrics and everything, was complaining to him. And like, it's 100% social media based of why no team in the league 4 years after one of the greatest seasons in NFL history for a wide receiver will even like bring him in on a incentive laden deal. It's crazy.
But was the straw that broke the camel's back in this situation, was it injury and distraction? Because he couldn't stay healthy either.
But yeah, but even when he got healthy, he didn't like start being quiet. He kept he kept making the social media posts like he was continuing to have the 2019 season over and over again. And instead he was, playing 5 games a year for 4 years there. It was so, and I guess once you get to that level, it's really hard to realize when you've lost it, or maybe you should change direction.
Well, this is a good segue, because I said in my article that I wrote about Antonio Brown that because he has gone completely to the loony bin, everyone forgets how great he was in his prime. I mean, but the vast majority of people, when they say, tell me something Antonio Brown, they're thinking that guy's nuts and he's all over the map. I think back to all the amazing catches, the amazing moments. That guy was a workaholic and he deserved the praise. And then he turned into AB, and people that want to speculate it was the hit from Brontez Burfict, and he's had CTE type complications from that concussion. It might be. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I've never seen a brain scan, nor does anyone else, because you have to be dead, I think, to be able to see if you have anything that is CTE. But still, do you think, let's use Michael Thomas as another example. If behavior after their career is over goes south in a hurry, does it tarnish what they did when they were on the field? So in other words, would Antonio Brown, who actually does have Hall of Fame numbers, if you look at his stats.
Oh, yeah.
Would there be voters that say, we can't have this guy in the Hall of Fame? He is a complete nut job. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't think it helps the case if you're internationally on the run for attempted murder.
I'm not laughing at the attempted murder. It's just so freaking weird.
What's going on? And the I mean, at some point it's gonna tarnish it. Now do I believe that's fair? No. But Antonio Brown, outside of Steelers fans and like diehard NFL fans that just follow the league in general, yeah, he's going to be completely tarnished. Nobody's going to think about him, having over 12,000 yards receiving and over 80 touchdowns in his career. Yeah, I think he had 6 straight years of 1,200 yards or more. Like he was incredible, and he was not Big Ben. The Steelers' offense was around running the ball, and Big Ben would make throws, but the way he performed, he was the guy you stopped when they tried to throw the ball.
Yep.
And the fact that he had the seasons he did is ridiculous.
He did win a Super Bowl too. That's what most people don't remember, is that he went to Tampa Bay and actually did win a Super Bowl with Tom Brady. And it's just interesting because I look at these players, and you talk about George Pickens. I mean, you could go down the list of players that have done something or things, meaning more than one, that has led to their dismissal. And that's why, let's bring this full circle back to the question at hand. It's like, well, man, what is that line in the sand? And I guess it depends on the organization. Some organizations are more tolerant than others. The Steelers are very tolerant because if you're good, they will put up with a lot. I'll go back to 2005. The Steelers, after they win a Super Bowl in the offseason, Cedric Wilson, wide receiver, he gets caught for some domestic abuse stuff. James Harrison gets caught for almost the same exact domestic abuse stuff. Cedric Wilson is released. James Harrison is retained. We're fine with James Harrison. Cedric, you got to go. It's like Mike Tomlin always says, we will treat everyone fairly but not evenly, meaning you're not going to be treated the same because it's a performance-based league. What are your thoughts?
Well, so one thing that just thing's interesting. So I don't know how to say it. I would not consider it giving up on a player if you get what is maybe a fair trade in return, though. So I don't know if I'd call the Steelers giving up on George Pickens a thing. They got for 1 year left on his deal, and considering that they have another wide receiver that's basically the same as him and it was going to be awkward anyway, I don't think the Steelers gave up on George Pickens. If they had, it would make sense to me. But if they had gotten rid of him without signing Metcalf, but they got it. I think what people say is, a fine return for him that nobody's going to be like.
What about the third and the fifth for Antonio Brown that the Raiders sent Pittsburgh? Is that giving up on Antonio Brown because of all his antics, or is that we think this is the value he actually provides?
So that one's so difficult because of what happened the rest of that year. I mean, the fact that he never played a snap for the Raiders and he plays one game for the Patriots. It's hard to like be serious about that one and say that I'm correct because of what happened after.
Wow.
But no, I think that probably for where they were, a third and a fifth is probably a little, maybe 2/3. I'd be like, no, it's okay. No, a third and a fifth is underpaying. The Raiders underpaid. And don't get me wrong, they think they way drastically overpaid on the back end of it, of what it actually looks like.
It sucks because this is the time of year where there is no real news, and if you do get news, it's very rarely ever positive. This is the Antonio Brown is wanted for attempted murder. So if Antonio Brown was still in the league, not that he could be or would be, but still, you're thinking, this is not good. And so I don't know, man. Any final thoughts on that?
Well, I'll say people won't remember this, but and I don't even know if you can go back and like really Google and get a real answer to the story. But just so for people following along at home, he got traded to the Raiders for a third and a fifth, and then showed up at camp and was like, the NFL helmet's not comfortable for me anymore.
That was the first thing, the helmet.
Well, the helmet was like the first three things.
But he got burned in the cryogenic chamber.
And then he got burned doing cryotherapy. But did he?
He showed his feet. I think they had feet photos of his scaly feet.
The weirdest stuff that could ever be, of like he had his own brand of helmet that he wanted to wear, or some special made helmet. Like, well, you have to wear in it. Now nowadays you can be a little pickier, I think, with the helmet you're wearing, maybe. But back then it was like, no, everybody in the entire league's wearing the same helmet, except Antonio Brown. And like, you can't go on the field for practice or a preseason game wearing the wrong helmet.
So I don't know if you have this up. Was he released by the Raiders and picked up by the Patriots, or was he traded?
I thought he was traded. No, I don't have it up for sure. Okay. I just in my mind
Why is all this crap? We're talking about drama off the field. Why are we talking about the Steelers so much? Like that's very disappointing to me. That this is what my favorite team is known for, putting up with a bunch of drama. That sucks. Thanks a lot, Mike Tomlin.
He was he was released by Oakland. He was released by the Raiders.
That was the when he started to really burn bridges, because when he left Pittsburgh, they trade him. He's talking about how he was never at Ben's house and Ben never invited him over or anything. And so the first thing you see, and they've got the social media crew, is he's invited over to Derek Carr's house and he's bringing him in, come meet my kids and all this stuff. And he's like, this is the greatest thing ever. And then the helmet doesn't fit.
Well, and then he got picked up by the Patriots. He played one game, had 4 catches with a touchdown for 8 yards. He had 4 catches for 8 yards in his Patriots career.
What happened there? I can't remember how he ended it. How did he only play one game? Did he get in trouble off the field and they cut him?
Yeah, he was just a psycho.
Well, we know this. If you follow at AB84, you know that he is not well mentally. We'll put it that way.
I think. Hey, well, let me say this: he's funny.
He
Like,
is.
I mean, I can see how some people don't think he's funny. He is funny.
Yes.
He posts a lot of crazy stuff, but
He said he had sex with Gavin Newsom's wife. I don't know if that's true or not.
why wait, are you doubting that whether or not it's true? I mean, somebody's got to do it, right?
He said Giselle too. Like, there's some crazy stuff. If you want to laugh, go to Antonio Brown's Twitter feed.
To be fair, now the thing to remember though about the Patriots thing is it was a 1-year deal with a $15 million deal. It was a $9 million signing bonus, but up to $15 million. But that's when all the allegations came out of the girl that he was with in college, and was it a massage, and was it not a massage, and all those all the text messages. Yeah, that's right. All that stuff came out like as the Patriots signed him.
Well, I want to switch off the Antonio Brown talk, and I want to talk to you about what would you feel? How would you feel? Maybe this could be a straw that breaks the camel's back. If your team's quarterback was outgunned at a recent quarterback competition by not only former NBA star Dwight Howard, but also 3 fans in attendance. What would you think?
Four fans.
Four fans. And a bunch of retired quarterbacks. Would you be upset?
I mean, if we're talking about
set the stage. No, seriously, set the stage for what we're talking about, because people might not know.
So Fanatics Fest and all the stuff they do, it's a huge card collecting and sports event because Fanatics has gotten into cards and collectibles, and obviously all their jerseys and memorabilia and merchandise. It's a huge thing. I mean, actually, the Kevin Durant trade got announced while he's on stage at Fanatics, which is pretty dang cool. So they did a quarterback competition, and now I just want to say, like, I don't know what all they did, but it's a quarterback competition. So let's go ahead and believe that it has to do with standing still and throwing and running and throwing.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much, it's a quarterback competition. 12 people competed. The top 11 are, CJ Stroud, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Eli Manning, Jaden Daniels, 3 fans, Joe Burrow, Dwight Howard, a 4th fan. And in 12th place, number 1 overall pick, Bryce Young.
Someone at Fanatics says, like, who invited Bryce Young?
What in the hell could it, like, and again, like, this isn't like a Nickelodeon event where you're like, we're throwing slime in his face while he's trying to throw left-handed, and that's why it didn't work out. I mean, he lost to 4 fans and Eli Manning and 50-year-old Tom Brady and Dwight Howard, who's a center in the NBA that, was drafted 15 years ago. Like,
well, I want to give a big shout out here to Ron Cooper, Matthew Bailey, Mark Gronick, and Scott Gatta. That sounds like it's made up. But still, those are the 4 fans that had a better scoring average, mark, whatever, than Bryce Young. Bryce Young scored 45.3. Scott Gatta had 46.9. I don't care if you're standing 10 yards away and you have to throw it in the hoops. Okay, fine. Scott Gatta hit more hoops than the number 1 overall pick. I would be pretty disappointed. I'm not going to lie.
And if I just want to point out too, in the era of 2-sport athletes, Dwight Howard was not a college quarterback.
Really? At 6'8" or whatever he is.
He's taller than that. He's like 6'10" or something.
Could you imagine a quarterback 6'10"?
That was Mark McGuire's brother, Dan McGuire. Played for the Seahawks. He was like 6'10" or 6'11".
Look goofy as hell is what it would. But still.
But still, Bryce Young finished behind 4 fans and Dwight Howard in a quarterback competition.
Oh my gosh. It doesn't matter, but the optics are just atrocious. They are just so bad. If I was a Panthers fan, I'd be like, are you serious? Like, Bryce should have said, just don't count my score. Just 211 people.
Right. As a follow-up, I'm hearing that the Steelers and Browns are competing to sign Ron Cooper.
Well, Ron Cooper is the creme de la creme of that group. The Steelers might have to settle for Matthew Bailey or Mark Ronick. Where did Kenny Pickett score in this? I don't know.
I can't imagine if I was a Panthers fan and you've been saying all the second half of last year, like, oh, it just took a little while. Bryce Young's figured it out. You guys are in trouble. You know, we're in the weakest division in football. Just wait. And like, we're going to do this and this. And then you see this and you're just like, I'm just going to be quiet. Like, you can't.
You know it. You're an NFC South fan. They're delusional, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, everyone else sees it, but they just refuse to see it.
Listen, we had a guy who writes for Sports Illustrated who does a Panther show with a very famous former NFL player that played for the Panthers. They do a show together. Like, so I'm talking about legitimate podcast, legitimate writer covering sports, that when Bryce Young was drafted, came on our show and told us that he was going to be the Steph Curry of the NFL and he was going to redefine the way the quarterback position was played. And then for our second show of the year, when we were going to play the Panthers again, because the Saints play him twice, we did preview shows with him. He was like, yeah, it's been rough, but he's still going to get there. I mean, like, I'd love to hear him talking about this.
So wait a second. So he actually stood his ground and he doubled down.
He stood his ground for the start of the second year after watching the entire first year. And I'm just like, this is credentialed media.
Oh, that's so good. That's
covering the Carolina Panthers for Fans First Sports Network.
Well, let's not throw the company under the bus, but still. All right. I want to finish the show up. I want to ask you a question. What do you think about the duration of seasons? I don't care what professional sports you're talking about. I think it is comical that the NHL just finished a little over a week ago and the NBA just wrapped up. We are almost in July. I find that to be just way too much. What's your thought on the duration of seasons?
Like, you just mean the way they're running together, or actually how long the years are?
They freaking are so long. In football, if they go to 18 games, I really hope, I mean, you got to think they're going to push it back a week in February, and they're probably going to have to go forward a week at the front because they're going to have to give teams 2 bye weeks most likely. Is that too long? I don't think so. I love football, but ultimately, some people could think it is.
I can deal with as much NFL football as you want to give me.
I'm with you.
I am fine with. I love college football and LSU football, and I would be just fine with it being like a 9-game season and maybe 2 playoff games at the most. Like, I would be fine with that for those kids. And you know, baseball, I'd be fine with a lot shorter season for that. But again, it ruins the stats and the history of the game and all. And the same thing with basketball. I mean, we do this basketball season just for everybody in the entire league to make the playoffs. I'd be fine with, if they're all going to make the playoffs, let's have it a shorter season. Yeah, I could go for less of them. Having said that, ask me this again in 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my God, why isn't the basketball season longer? Like, why is it over? I just want sports.
Basketball would be great if it ended right after March Madness. Like, so if NBA had like their playoffs gearing up right after March Madness wraps up, then you'd be over. The playoffs would probably be done at the beginning of June at the latest. We're not talking July. Hockey needs to cut its season back as well. There's just too many games. That's such a physical sport. It's a war of attrition. We know that. Anyone that follows a hockey team knows that. But yeah, it's nuts. I think it's just insane. We're almost in July and they just finished. Incredible.
It kind of pairs up though. What's so like? There's just nothing in sports better for that duration of hockey playoffs. They're so good. Everything's on. It's especially like the last 3 rounds. I mean, the first round can be okay sometimes, but anybody can win. It's so much fun. The first round of the basketball playoffs is the worst thing that there is in sports because, I mean, the 8 seed never beats the 1 seed. It's always, I mean, I hate the first round of the playoffs, and this year was maybe the worst that it's ever been. It was just awful. And then we get back into it. So, yeah, we could do with less of it, but I don't know. Let's make that NFL season 20 games long.
Yeah, I'm fine with the NFL. Do you want to? I just realized this. I love a break. That's what I love about it. The NFL, you get some time. So your team plays Thursday, Sunday, Monday, Saturday, Wednesday,
Yep.
for who the hell knows. But then you get like a little bit of, okay, I need to digest what I just saw, break it down. What are the trends? You get some time to plan. That's also why I love the PGA Tour, because you get a break. It's ongoing all year, but okay, they play from Thursday to Sunday, Monday nothing, Tuesday nothing, Wednesday nothing, and then they're back at it. I like the break. That's what I'm realizing. I like having a little bit of a lull there.
So does that terrify you that we're definitely going to lose that over the next few years? Where there's going to be like Wednesday football probably within the next 2 years, and they're just trying to own another day of the week and all.
Well, I'm just talking about the teams that I like. So, I mean, like the Steelers will play once a week.
Once
and I
a year.
can handle that. I'll watch NFL football anytime it's on. That is the only sport. I mean, the golf, I'll watch golf all year round. But that's just golf. Like, you're not watching one team. You don't have a choice. You're either watching the PGA Tour. I don't watch anything else. But in this case, the Steelers will only play once a week. If they had games every single day, I'd watch the NFL every single day. I'm not going to lie and say, oh, yeah, I'm not watching it. But it would still give me a time for the Steelers part of my brain to kind of decompress, wrap my head around what I just witnessed, and then get ready for the next game. You know you would watch it every day too. Don't lie.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
All right, man. This has been a fun show. For an off season with no news, this has been a fun show. So what's coming up for you with the you guys doing any podcasts over on the Dome Patrol? What's going up?
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while there's things to talk about. Probably for a few weeks it's pretty boring. Still covering Wednesday when this is coming out. That'll be Flag Day with 2Gs. Mavericks number 1 overall pick, 1.8% chance. They're going to be drafting Cooper Flagg, who's going to be a generational talent, but they're not going to trade him. Speaking of the NBA, this was the Oklahoma City Thunder did not win the title. The Indiana Pacers got it stolen from them with the Halliburton injury, which is just brutal, and I hate it. But this finals will be remembered for the Halliburton injury and how we got a great Game 7 stolen from us. And it's I don't know. It's
ruptured
heartbreaking.
Achilles tendon, correct, for Halliburton? That's what I saw. Ruptured
what?
Achilles.
Yeah, ruptured Achilles. Yeah.
Same as Tatum from the Boston Celtics earlier in the playoffs. You know what's interesting?
Sixth one this season. It's the most that there's ever been in an NBA season ever.
You know what was interesting is that both of those players in the postseason reported calf tightness.
Calf strain. There's 3 people because Dame got it too. Calf strains, came back from the calf strain, ruptured their Achilles. All 3 in the playoffs did it.
They're trying to push their body back. Their body's telling them, like, this might not be a good idea. Sometimes the body fights back. Interesting stuff.
And then just last thing, LSU baseball won its 8th national championship. It's amazing. It was incredible. It was great.
Well, what's going on with the football team? Like, LSU's fine and all that stuff. You always tell me when guys golfed at LSU, like Sam Burns, which I don't know that. But anyways, what's up with the football team? Like, they have been down. Like, since that Joe Burrow era, like, they've not been good years.
Yeah, I mean, they've been okay. This is the year that they'll come back. This will be Brian Kelly's. This is the best recruiting class he's put together. They came in. They missed out on what was going on with NIL. They had 2 years in a row where they had what was going to be the number 1 overall recruiting class, and they counted on that. They thought that was a big deal. They were like, we don't want to do the transfer portal. We want to build this team recruiting. And then both recruiting classes got picked off one by one with these massive offers that LSU had no idea was going to exist. They were blindsided by this. They have leaned in the last 2 years to the transfer portal. This year they have number 1 transfer portal going into this 2025 season. They'll have the number 1 transfer portal class. They're leaning into what they're supposed to do. So I think they made some mistakes of what they just didn't know what was going to happen.
You like Brian Kelly?
I think he's going to be good for what we're going to do here. I mean, we got the number 1 transfer portal class, and we've twice with him had the number 1 signing class that got picked off. So yeah, I think he's going to do just fine. And LSU sports is the top of the college universe, and
I think Brian Kelly is a freaking fraud. I think he is one of the fakest coaches ever. Wasn't he at Cincinnati before going to Notre Dame?
He was.
And he stood in front of his team. I'm not going anywhere. And then he bolts before the bowl game. And then Notre Dame. And then all of a sudden he starts talking with a Southern drawl. And he has that really awkward video where they were doing the camera that revolves around the player and the coach. It's like, I can't
That was weird. That
I
was
can't
that was
get
that was not a
behind
good one.
this guy.
Hey,
But-
did you know this? Interesting fact about Brian Kelly: never been in a bathroom stall with Big Ben.
Well, that's good for him. I mean, in a lot of ways, that's really good for him. Oh, we're opening the floodgates for the Ben Roethlisberger jokes now. But
You can find me on Twitter or X at @WhoDatWesley13. Interact with Jeff on everything possible, including his golf and barbecue.
right.
Jeff, where can we find you on Twitter and X and your Steelers coverage?
Yeah, so at J Hartman, HARTMAN_PIT. That's where you'll find all my musings about the world of sports, especially golf and especially the Pittsburgh Steelers. Other than that, find me at Steel Curtain Network wherever you get your podcasts or steelcurtainnetwork.com. Wesley, man, as always, thanks for your time. We'll talk next week.
Thank you, sir.